Hey everybody, welcome back to Cool Stuff, etc. This is an overdue video, but I am happy that I'm going to get this out before the end of the year. The 2025 Backlog project has come to a close, and I'm excited to share the games I played in the third and fourth quarter. The reason that this is sort of combined is quarter three didn't have enough games for me to justify making a full video on it, and I also just kind of got lazy in all honesty. Reasons for that being that, if you're not aware, I have some like pain in my hands, probably carpal tunnel, and so I was having a bit of a flare up in the third quarter this year, and playing games was not really at the forefront of what I wanted to do when that's happening. So the games I did play, you'll see, are kind of on the easier side for dexterity and such. But let's just get into it. I'm excited to talk with everyone. So the first game to discuss is A Little to the Left. This was not on the original backlog list, so that's why it's highlighted in blue. Played for about 11 and a half hours. It's a puzzle game if you're not familiar. It's like organizing things, or it's sold as that. Organizing things, putting things where they belong. If you're familiar with unpacking, it's a lot like that in theory. In practice, it's more of a puzzle game, whereas unpacking is just like putting things where you like them to be or where they make sense, and there is a right or wrong, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. This one sort of has, as it goes on, gets a bit more obtuse with its puzzles. There's multiple ways to solve every puzzle, and I felt like it didn't deliver fully on the organizational promise, which is what I wanted to do. I love organizing stuff. I love making spreadsheets. I love cleaning stuff and making it look nice. So this was kind of the game that I, wanted it to be. It's not the game that I wanted it to be. It is a very cute idea, and the art is nice. I love the inclusion of the cats, of course. I'm a little biased on that. And I also like the idea that they kind of sort of subtly hint at throughout that, not everything needs to be perfect. There's several levels where the cat starts to fuck with you and you got to reset it. You can also skip any level you want by just letting it be, which I just think is a nice message, even though I didn't really use that because I, of course, got all the achievements, including in the DLC, because the DLC, it kind of was a downward spiral of one of them is more organizational, and that was a good DLC. I liked that one. I forget what it's called, like cupboards and drawers, I think it's called, and that one was more about putting stuff away, and there was a lot more of what I wanted. And then the spiral continues with, I only have one more DLC left to complete, I might as well buy it on sale and do it all. So Seeing Stars was more of the puzzles from the main game, which I wasn't thrilled about, and definitely admittedly used a lot of hints and guides and stuff. So, but overall, I think it's a decent game if you're a puzzler. And the daily, had to get 100 dailies done to get that full achievement list. Yeah. All right, out there somewhere. Now this is an interesting one because I don't know when I bought this. I don't know why I bought this or where, other than Steam, of course, but where I heard it. But it's just this quick little puzzle platformer. It's a very novel idea, and the execution is actually quite good. Basically, you have a gun that you can shoot across, and you teleport to wherever it hits. It's simple as that. It's very cute. It's very straightforward. There's not a ton of exploration. It's not a Metroidvania or anything like that. It's just short and sweet, and it seems like a very small, independently produced game that I think is worth a try. Honestly, if you're into this, got about an hour and a half out of it. Worth it, I think. And then Caro Blaster. Okay, if you're not familiar, this is a game made by Pixel, the guy who made Cave Story. I actually don't. This must have come after or maybe before. I don't remember actually, but it's a very similar game in terms of its mechanics. You play as a frog, part of a business, and you go around and you have to unclog the teleporters and stuff in each level. You have guns that you can upgrade. You get a couple different ones. The game mechanics are very nice. If they feel nice, it's very tight. You can run forward, and you can also hold up and run and shoot and jump. Your jump feels kind of floaty, but you still have some control over it. The aesthetic is great, which is not surprising if you are familiar with Cave Story. And the music, additionally, if you're familiar with Cave Story, is very good. Kara Blaster is a lot of fun. It is quite difficult. As you can see, only got one achievement in the 3 hours that it took me to play the first campaign, because there are, I believe, 2 other modes after you beat it. And they're just like harder versions. Although the second one is the second mode is like a rearranged like B story. There's a different narrative going on. There's I believe a different final level. I don't know. I didn't feel like at the time interested in doing that, but maybe I'll go back to it at some point and do that part. But I don't have an interest in the other achievements, which are like beat the game without getting hit or that kind of thing, like the crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, I had a good time with it. This is definitely when I remember I was feeling my hands start to really get, sore and in pain. So I switched to other games, which we'll talk about next. But in between the next game and the previous game, this was like, I woke up on a Saturday, I looked at my wish list and saw the games I had on sale. This was like on sale for $1 or less. And I bought it. And I'm really glad I did it. It's a very cute Zelda-like game. It sort of has this like Arabian Nights, Aladdin sort of setting, which I don't know about the like cultural sensitivity side of things, but I'm not an expert on that. So, but yeah, it's sort of Zelda-like. Actually, it's very Zelda-like, the original Zelda in particular. It plays almost identical to that, but there is one mechanic that the developer adds that is like changes sort of how you navigate the world and how you solve puzzles and things. Really there's 2. It's a good puzzle game as well. You use this like magic beam rod thing, and you whenever it hits, whether it be a block or an enemy, you switch spots with them, and that makes for some really interesting level design, interesting puzzles, as well as this idea that symmetry, which you when you play the game, you walk into a room, sort of like the old man from the first Zelda. You walk into the room and someone tells you symmetry is divine, and so that is sort of principle is like utilized throughout the levels in various ways. It's actually really interesting the ingenuity in how they craft these puzzles is very interesting. It's very short runtime, as you can see. 1 hour was a full playthrough, cheap price, and I saw the developer is creating a sequel that is sort of an homage to Ocarina of Time. So they're kind of like building on this Zelda aesthetic, which indie throwbacks, retro throwbacks are a dime a dozen. So you might not be into that. It can be a little grating for me personally. However, I wasn't bothered by it here, just since it was such a quick experience, and also because they did have that sort of unique mechanic to use. So I would definitely recommend it. It's a quick game, and I hope the developer does continues to do well, and I'm interested to see how the other game turns out. The next game you'll see is a long game, about 25 hours, Disco Elysium. If you are not familiar, it takes place in not a fantasy world, but it's like, I should say like, it's an alternate history, sort of low fantasy world that basically mirrors ours in terms of the political situations and racial tensions and unions and strikes and whatnot. It is undoubtedly one of the most vivid like RPG worlds that I've ever been able to experience. It's incredible how much they have packed into such a small area, because the game really takes place only in one part of a city. It's this idea, I believe that Warren Spector mentioned it when they were making one of the later Deus Ex games, where like he wanted to just make like one square block of a city, but have like everything be interactable and every person have like a ton of stuff to say. This sort of follows that design philosophy. Whether they did that purposefully or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an RPG. You assign stats at the beginning of the game. There's skill checks. You level up. You equip items and stuff, and you talk. You talk to a lot of people, and you talk to them a lot for a long time. Everyone is voice acted, including the narration, your internal monologue. I guess the only person who's not voice acted is like you, because yeah, the stuff you pick doesn't get spoken. But anyways, and you play as a man who forgets things and forgets everything basically about his life, and so that you wake up and you are this guy and you're trying to solve this murder. Apparently you are an alcoholic and a drug addict and a cop, and so there's just a lot going on from there. It just builds. I will say the first couple hours were a little slow. I felt a little bit like I wasn't sure where it was going, but once the plot hooks you, it really hooks you. If you don't like reading, this is not the game for you. People talk a lot. I have to admit that I did find, even though I was invested in the story and the characters, I did find myself like reading the dialogue and then skipping the voice acting just because I don't know. My attention span is not good. But yeah, the story is excellent. Like I mentioned, all the characters are like very lively and have their own quirks and desires and alliances and stuff. The atmosphere is so excellent. Like the music and the way it looks, like as you see this cover art, it's very much that style. Everything looks that way. There's a phenomenal aesthetic to it, and best of all, the story has a lot of complexity morally, and there's depth to all your choices. The things you do have a real impact on how the story turns out. And so I mean, this is one of the most like incredible game worlds ever made, I think. And I mean, I'm not the first and I won't be the last to say it, but you should play this game, I think, if you have a tolerance for reading. Next up, so I didn't really play Monster Hunter Rise much in these quarters, because to play it I have to use a controller, and the controller more than anything hurts my hands, and so it has to be very much like a hour at a time ish thing, which unfortunately isn't the best for Monster Hunter. I feel like Monster Hunter is, for me at least, a series where I need to play it in like quick bursts of a couple hours at a time, and yeah, so not being able to do that really sort of soured my motivation to play it. As you can see, I put that it's sort of on hold. I still have every intention of playing it to completion. I do love Monster Hunter so much. My first game was Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii. Like I pre-ordered like the game itself as well as the controller that comes with it. I remember going home and playing the demo a ton, and just like that game, I put so much time into it and had so much fun with my friends playing it. And so I think I've played just about every game since, excluding Wilds, because I wanted to prioritize Rise. I think I just like the aesthetic of Rise more than sort of the photorealism of Wilds, but I digress. Yeah, so I just think that I will get to this at some point, especially if I have some friends who want to join me and all that good stuff. But what I'll say about Rise is that what I've played of it, the 10 hours I've played, does feel like a culmination of all the games that came before it, and there's so many great like additions, quality of life additions, and new mechanics and stuff. As usual for Monster Hunter, the designs of everything looks awesome. The monsters, the weapons, the armor, the locales. Yeah, I mean, it's a great game. I really want to get back into it. I think that maybe the gameplay loop can get a little repetitive when you're grinding for certain materials that you want to build or upgrade your armor and weapons, but that's kind of like just like the nature of the beast, so to speak. Like that's just kind of how the game is designed, and it's been that way, I'm sure, since the very beginning. So it's not like a necessarily a negative. It's just like something to know before going into it. And I really want to finish this one in the next year, because I've never actually finished an entire campaign for Monster Hunter before, so need to change that. Vampire Survivors. All right, I have a hot take here. The only good bullet heaven is Vampire Survivors. I've been totally like what's the word? What's the phrase? I have no interest anymore in roguelikes for the most part. I just prefer, I think, to spend my time playing games with a story or mechanics or a world that excites me, and roguelikes just don't typically offer that. I know there are some out there that do, and there are some on my list, in the coming year that I want to play. But as far as this like subgenre, this like bullet heaven, where you are the bullet hell, so to speak, I just don't understand why there needs to be a billion. Like every game on my discovery queue nowadays is just like bullet heaven roguelike, bullet heaven roguelike. It's almost as bad as the roguelike deck builder that was a thing that was just like like a million of them after like Slay the Spire and all that stuff. And anyways, this game is fun. I have fun with it. It's very addictive. It does get repetitive after a while. The gameplay loop is sort of like locked in place at a certain point. Like you kind of have your strategy and you just have to like commit to it, and that's how you like everything you do basically unlocks things. So that's the addictive part of things. And I did go for 100% here. The 40 missing achievements are for the 2 DLCs that I have not yet purchased or played. I might in the future if I ever get a hankering for this game again. And they do have a lot of free updates. Like even while I was playing this, they had a free update with like 10 or 11 new unlockables that I had to do. So, or not had to do, but I wanted to do, and I felt an obligation in some sense. But yeah, did I explain what this game is about? How to play it? It's like Castlevania aesthetics, but it's very different. Whereas you are in like a never-ending wave of monsters. It's sort of like an auto battler in the sense that the weapons you use are just like auto firing. The only things you do in this game are move around and decide what upgrades you want. And they come in the form of lots of different items or different weapons. You can upgrade them fully. They evolved if you have the right combinations. So you look. There's some strategy there. It is very I don't want to say luck based, but there's some chance to deal with as well, and you can mitigate that with certain things. But yeah, I mean, I had a great time with it. I don't regret the 35 hours I spent at all. But I do wonder if this genre has any legs to stand on, or if this is sort of like the pinnacle. I know people are loving that like Mega Bonk game. I don't know. I see it. I don't really have an interest in playing it, but yeah. Anyways, Vampire Survivors was a lot of fun, and I also, as a Castlevania fan, I gotta love that. So okay, Strong Bad 3. This is episode 3 of 5. It was another 3-hour play, point and click adventure. I don't have much to say about it. Pretty much the same as the previous two. It's very funny writing with characters that I'm familiar with and I love. The puzzles are very annoying at times and require me to look up things that I, just like totally random, arbitrary, solutions and stuff. That's sort of par for the course. And while I don't have the most motivation to do the final 2, I really want to finish them because this, if you recall from the first video, this is like a saga that I have been meaning to accomplish since I was a child, and I only ever played the first 2, and so playing this one for the first time was cool. I'm just noticing that there's a typo in the cover art for this game. Strong Bad's cool game for Attractus people. Whoa. Anyway, what I'll say about this one that is a little different from the previous 2 is that I liked the theme of music. There's different music genres being represented here, and as a fan of different music genres and music in general, I like that setting, that sort of backdrop. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what the next 2 do. The next one is like Danger-esque 3. I think they're shooting Danger-esque 3. And then the final one is about like a Trogdor arcade cabinet coming to life or something like that. So I'll get to it, but yeah. Let's see. Next. Ooh, Faith. Okay, this is a good one too. This is another like sort of indie retro throwback, but it's to an era that I don't think people have. Oops. Oh my gosh. It's to an era that I don't think people have really, shown a lot of love to, which is like this, I believe, MS-DOS slash TurboGrafx slash Apple II slash early Windows sort of like PC game. Everything moves very slow. The aesthetic is great, pixely goodness. Sound design is nice. The music is, like, I wouldn't listen to it in my free time, but it is effective for what it does in the game. And there's a great, like, surreal sort of dreamlike quality on top of, like, this religious theming that I'm a sucker for. The first 2 chapters is the Unholy Trinity. There's 3 chapters. The first 2 chapters are fairly good, if short. The 3rd chapter was my favorite by far. It was much more sprawling. There was much more interesting stuff to do. Enemies were more fun. And I think it's just also fun to have like the culmination of everything that you worked for. I will go back, I think, at some point and get all the endings in chapter 3 because I kind of just want to know what's going on, and I didn't get the true ending. So, but other than that, yeah, it's great. I would fully complete this if there wasn't that stupid achievement where you have to play the game in one run without dying. But I digress. By this point, my hands had started to sort of feel better around end of October, early November. And that's when I devoted like 55 hours of my life to Hollow Knight Silksong. If you are not familiar with Hollow Knight or Hollow Knight Silksong, they are 2 really great Metroidvania sort of action platformers in a Souls-like-ish vein, but they're definitely their own thing. Like, they're of the games that are very indebted to Souls. Hollow Knight, to me at least, is the one that sort of takes that formula and sort of develops on it, or what's the word? Darn, I can't think of it. Anyways, it sort of like takes what Souls does and alters it and makes it a new thing. And so to me, it's not just a Souls game. It is like, it's its own separate. It's Hollow Knight. Now you have all these games that are influenced by Hollow Knight, and sort of coming out. Like I've seen a couple, like Crowsworn, Nigh Souls, Layers Deep. There's like an Onion. I kind of want to play that one, honestly. But anyways, yeah, Hollow Knight Silksong is truly one of the greatest games I've ever played in my entire life. I couldn't believe when I was playing this game. I could not believe how much fun I was having and how just incredible it is. Like the fact that we all were waiting for so long for this game to come out, and then it does, and it not only delivers on the hype, but like surpasses it in every possible facet. Like, it's insane to me. This game is incredible. It takes everything Hollow Knight did and just sort of like cranks it up to 1,000,000%. The only negative thing I could say about it is there are a couple bosses that really got to me. If you know, I'm sure that you can think of at least one of them. And just like, I don't know, I have a tricky relationship with difficulty in video games sometimes, whereas like, Dark Souls, as an example, I used to really despise those games as games, whereas I've come around on Dark Souls for sure. However, the games that sort of were spawned by Dark Souls and its sequels, especially the later sequels like 3 and Elden Ring and Bloodborne to an extent as well, sort of take this design philosophy of a hard game that provides lots of challenge and lots of dying, and they started to make games that are like hard to master combat that requires so much of players. And it's fine if you like challenge in games. I'm not really one of those people. The reason I played through this game is not the challenge. It's the free-flowing movement, it's the world building, it's the exploration, the sense of discovery, and the combat was sort of a necessary evil that I had to kind of get better at. And I did. Like I only struggled like extensively like for an hour or two at certain bosses, and what I just and after a certain amount of time I just said, you know what, I'm not having fun with this. I'd rather just look up a guide of how to kind of beat it or quote unquote cheese it, and so I did that, and I don't regret it at all because it made my experience that much better. When the moments when I was getting frustrated with this game were the moments where I'm like, I just want to get to something fun, like I just want to move on and do something else. And when I got past those like I think it was really only two. When I got past those two moments, the game was a beautiful, wonderful experience that I will cherish forever. I think it's just such a phenomenal game. If you haven't played it already, play it before the DLC comes out in February. I am so excited for that. Yeah. All right, now a game that I'm not so excited to talk about, Resident Evil 3 Remake. Man, what a letdown. What a letdown. RE2 Remake was great. I loved it. But just something about RE3, like I know that the original Resident Evil 3 is seen as sort of like the action movie sequel to RE1 and 2. I get that. I just don't like that direction. I know Resident Evil 4 goes there, but they do something. They still have that like Resident Evil sort of like open-ended exploration style thing going on, even in like self-contained levels. RE4 just nails it, and RE3 Remake does not nail it at all. I'll play the RE4 Remake and see how I feel, but this game, it's fine. Like it's a fine game. Like I had a fine time doing it. It looks good. There's some good scares. The mechanics are nice. I appreciate that there's not like a knife that you lose when you use it, so that's fine. But really, the game after the halfway point, like you have kind of that open city area in the beginning, and then after that, it's kind of a straight line, in all honesty. And it just, I don't know, it just like totally for me loses the Resident Evil kind of stuff that I love. So it's fine. I'm not really too thrilled about it or nothing, but I'm excited for RE4 Remake to try that out maybe next year, and I'm also excited for Resident Evil 9 coming up, I believe next year as well, so that'll be fun. Yeah, let's see. Statistics, I forgot about this. So I thought I'd do some statistics for these 2 quarters as well as the full year. So in quarter 3 and 4, I finished 10 games, about 147.5 hours played, and 390 achievements earned out of a possible 516. Now, don't forget that a good 200 of those are from Vampire Survivors. So, but 76% is not too bad. I should have mentioned how many games I completed fully, and I guess they'd be a little to the left. And I count Vampire Survivors base game. I know it's not full achievements, but regardless. And then as for the full year, because this year is coming to an end, 30 out of 37 games finished. Well, and these are just the games that I started. So I started 37 games, 30 finished, 4 DNF'd, as you can see, and a couple in progress, 2 on hold. So 6 are going to be moving over to the new year, and about 332 hours total played, which is pretty good for me. For previous years, I really was lacking in terms of game time, so this is great. And then 941 achievements earned out of a possible 1356, which is about 69%. Nice number to end the year on. I'm looking forward to next year. I feel like this backlog project has been such a incredible success for me. I played so many more games than I have in the past decade probably, and finished so many more games too. I still have obviously 25 games unplayed from this year that were on the original list to get to, and so those will all be moving over, with the exception of, I believe, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. I just decided in the course of the year that I really don't want to spend a ton of time playing that game, so maybe in the future I'll try Morrowind or I'll play Oblivion again, and then move from there. But regardless, I'm really excited. I'm going to try and get a backlog plan, a 2026 backlog plan video out before the end of the year. I have that all run, have that all set up and everything to go. So, but you know what? Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, Like I said, am really happy with how this turned out. And if you maybe are inspired by me to do your own backlog, that'd be great. Yeah, maybe I could share my spreadsheet template to everybody. I highly recommend doing this, even if you end up not really, following through on it. I think just having something to look forward to like this is a great way to build your motivation and stuff for the new year. But anyways, I will get going, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.